Okay, hey, it looks like we're live here on 15 Minutes of Flame, and I'm back outside because I actually have a new computer that allows me, I think, to stream in an uninterrupted fashion. So you get to see more of this behind me, kind of moving forward. And if the weather becomes a little more inclement, well, then we'll just hike it back inside. So here we go. Let's say a little hello to people. Let's bring some folks from Chatland into the mix. We got Mike. Hey, Mike. I just fell in love with 40 people. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. Let's see. There we go. There's Kestrel up 77. There's Christy. Looks like you made it back okay, Christy. Good to see that. Nicholas Grimm. Nick. Today I will get on the case and I will go back and put everything together again. I know I sent it a second time. Third time's a charm. Let's see. Who else do we have here? There's Faith. Faith was with us. Oh, and there's Steve, all the way from Orlando. What's going on, Steve? We're going to bring you on here in a minute. We'll bring Thor by the door on in a minute here. Let's see. Coach K and Michael R. Good morning to you. There's Joan S. What's happening, Joan? Tina Sherman, morning. I really enjoyed Friday's show with Emily interviewing the attendees. Yeah, that was the Saturday Matrix Mash. That was a good one. There's Shannon and let's see who else. Cheryl, hey Cheryl. There's Ryan. I think Ryan is hanging out in Dallas, Texas. The Big D, Mr. Introspective Woodworker. He's there, and he was here with us. Garden Girl. Let's see who else do we have. Natasha from Bottomless Lake State Park. Woohoo! We got some journeyers that left here yesterday and made their way to New Mexico, and I hope they're doing just fine. They're on a bit of a Thelma and Louise style road trip, but it's Thelma and Louise plus plus. There's Amy Cheeky Monkey. What's going on there? Good to see that you're in the place that you need to be. Paul at Tuttle's here. There's Maury Demare. Good morning. Hope Robert gets fairly deep behind the surface of this Trump thing this month. We're going to try to do as much as we can. Hi, Stephen. Good to see you. Wish you could have been there. Hey, there's Sherry, all the way from the UK. So we got about 64 people chiming in. And let's see, anybody else? Did I miss anybody? What else we have here? Garden Girl, Cheryl, Shannon. Hey, there's Jennifer Rubin. What's up, JR? I hope you can hang out with us next year because you know what? There will be a next year. I guarantee it. There will be an extra. And let me just say, last year was really, really good. This year we went next level, totally next level. And over the days, and maybe even the weeks, but certainly the days that follow, there are going to be a lot of pictures pouring in because man, we had some shutterbugs at this event, and a lot of really cool pictures were taken, and I'm going to share some of those with you from the event. So it's gonna be. I'll give you guys a little taste, and so just to give you a recap, we were together. There's about 40 of us, and we were together right down here in Kerrville. And my goal and intention was to create the most liberating and mask-free experience for people as possible, and that's exactly what we did. It's exactly what we did from start to finish, right? From when we entered to the time that we left, none of us wore masks. And wherever we went, we were not asked to wear masks, whether it was a restaurant. In fact, let me just give you guys a little breakdown here. So the first night we got there, which was Thursday night, not everybody had shown up, but there were a lot of us there on Thursday night. And the way that these things work, it's pretty remarkable how these things work out. So people were hungry, and I think it was around 8:30 at night. And Kerrville is not a metropolitan center. It is not a buzz. So if you find a restaurant besides Chili's that's open, after 8:30 at night, you're kind of you're kind of onto something. Okay, if it's not Chili's or Whataburger, you're onto something. So we've been to this other place down in Kerrville where they serve like catfish and kind of southern style cuisine, right? So we did a quick search, and again, it's about 8:30 at night, and we found this place called LaFours, L-A, and then Fours, LaFours. So it looked like it was open, although when we pulled into the parking lot, it was clearly empty. So I think there were maybe about 20 of us at that point in time, and we all just pour into this place. And they had a whole room that we could, occupy. So we had our own room, and these people were not wearing any masks. Okay, not wearing any masks. They're from Louisiana, and apparently they had gone on the anti-mask front. They were actually trying to sue the city of Kerrville because it was cratering their business, absolutely cratering their business. Now, the cool thing about this restaurant, family owned and operated, that means that they had one mindset and one perspective, right? They were all on the same page. So the people that made the food, the people that sat us, the people that served us, they're all part of the same family. And so they had kind of one directive, and their directive was, number one, stay open. Number two, make really good food, and number three, be as free and liberated as possible. And they've taken a big hit, obviously. Now, what's interesting is that the place that we had been to before, down in Kerrville, excuse me, one second. Three. Okay. So the place we've been to in Kerrville before closed indefinitely. Indefinitely. That's what it said. Now, we didn't see this until we were driving back. So we go into this place called LaFours. I'd never been there before, by the way. And they put us in this room, and it just so happens that we're matching, right? We are matching the vibration of the people that are running that restaurant. And the food was fantastic. We had Louisiana style Cajun food. It was great. Totally great. So if you're ever in Kerrville, go to LaFours and support these people. And what was really cool is that there was Grandpa LaFour and then great great grandson LaFour, and they were standing right there at the checkout. When we were paying our bill, they were both there together, and they had a lot to say about what's going on with the whole mask thing. So that's how everything started, right? Everything started with this kind of synchronization of two sort of disparate groups, disparate families, right? Because we were an autonomous family just coming together, and they were a family of four generations. And in fact, Mama LaFour came in, and that's what she told us. She gave us the history of the restaurant and of their family. And it's like, that's how we wanted this thing to start. And a lot of times there's no plan, and sometimes I have a bit of a plan. Like when I do a show, I've got a bit of a plan, but sometimes I go off the road a little bit. And even with the event, I have a bit of a plan, but there's always room for improvisation and creativity and spirit. And so this is really kind of how we kicked this thing off. And then what was really interesting is that there was a real Mardi Gras theme inside this room we're in. So there are all these masks inside this room, and one of the masks that they had is the mask of happiness and joy, and then the mask of pathos and sorrow. Okay, so now Joan and I had gone to this place called the Stonehenge of the Hill Country, and we just cruised down there. And I walked around there, and all of a sudden, this is before, it's about 2 weeks before. And all of a sudden, the wheels of my head start spinning, right? Oh, I got to do something with this place, right? And it's an actual place. It's called the Stonehenge of the Hill Country. And it looks like freaking Stonehenge, all right? So they also have one of the Easter Island figures, whom I believe is Maki Maki, right there. So after we had visited this place, I said to myself, what can I do here? What can I do? So then it all came together, right? It all came together that we were going to do removal of the mask ritual. So nobody in the group knew this. Nobody knew we were going to do this, right? So it was really kind of a bit of a surprise. Although one person, Ryan's wife, introspective woodworker, his surfer girl wife, figured it out. She figured out where we were going, which was pretty cool actually. But she didn't tell anybody. So we go down there, and the idea is, let me go get one of these masks. Hold on one second. I'll be right back. You got to check this out. All right. So this is what we were wearing. I can't keep it on for too long because it's really hard for me to breathe in here. But this is what we were wearing, right? And the idea was that when people entered into this Stonehenge of the hill country, they put the mask on. And then we did a few things inside this thing. And then when we left, we took the mask off, right? That was the idea. So everybody wore one of these right here. And the idea was that we would turn back time, and then we would move time forward. And then as people exited this structure, they'd remove the mask, right? And so it was for an individual effect, but it was also for a collective effect. Now, you know what's really interesting is that, and I don't know if these things are linked, but over the weekend, I think it was on Friday and kicking into Saturday, Sunday, the Attorney General and the Congress of the state of Michigan basically overruled Christie Whitmer. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today and what's happened in the state of Michigan. They said, this is over. You can't do this. You are overstepping your boundaries. You're overstepping your authority. So, I don't know if this had anything to do with it or not, but the idea was that we would create kind of a ripple in time, and that perhaps through our intentionality, we might actually have kind of an impact. You see, there are things you can do, and as crazy as it sounds, right? Well, I mean, short of going out and mowing down a lot of people wearing masks, it's probably a very benign attempt. Can you hear the cops in the background? Listen to that. That's pretty intense. Hold on one second. So one of the things that we had is that I'd gone out and I'd purchased these masks of joy and pathos, right? And I'd gone online, I purchased these masks. And then Joan had gone ahead and put the pathos mask with the mouth down like that right at the entrance of the Stonehenge of the hill country. And then she had the happy mask on the exit of the Stonehenge of the hill country. So when we went to that restaurant and we saw those masks on the wall, it was pretty interesting. Anyway, that's how everything kicked off. And then, and then there was an event that we did on Friday afternoon that a couple of people knew about it, but not everybody knew about it. And so what we did on Friday is we went to the hill country rifle range where we went shooting, right? So we did the Friday forecast, and then we did, then we went out, we hit the road, then we spent basically about 3.5 hours, broke down into 2 groups, and we worked with Ken over at the hill country rifle range or shooting range, whatever it's called. And people got to actually fire 22 pistols, 22 rifles, 22. He had an AR-15 he converted into a 22 platform. So this is another thing, and I had to tell people about it because they had to register beforehand, but a lot of people didn't know. So that's how our first day started off. We started off with our unmasking ritual, and then it ended with firing guns into targets, and it all just got better from there, if you can believe it. And then finally on Sunday night, we went to the Blue Moon. And by the way, this is a month where we have a blue moon, right? Two full moons in 1 month. And we went to Blue Moon Ranch out here with our friend Rosanna and Lee Guest, Miss Fuck Your Feelings, uh, basically just entertained her ass off. And people were laughing so hard. I mean, she's got a whole slew of songs that are really so politically incorrect. And she also has some real heartfelt material that has a lot to do with, small towns and families and people helping each other out. And so we went out there, and I think she played for about, I don't know, maybe an hour and 15 minutes or so. And there was never a dull moment. She was cracking us up. And we had some good old Texas barbecue. And meanwhile, Rosanna's husband, Heath, had people over on the shotgun range, and we were shooting skeet. And it was just a hell of a lot of fun. And then a lot more stuff happened in between. So I'm really hoping that people who couldn't attend this year can come back and attend next year. And there will be a next year. I'm holding the space for next year. And, one of the things that I think was really crucial was, again, for me, right, to create an environment where people would not have to be burdened by the mask or the expectation of the mask or feeling judged for not wearing a mask. And not only that, but it was also an opportunity for people to get together who could share ideas and talk amongst people that are more or less really, hitting the same vibratory signature, and just kind of drop their guard and not feel like they have to censor or think that they're weird or think that their belief system is going to be met with derision, judgment, criticism, censure. And so that happened too. So that was the idea and intention, right? Create as much of a mask-free environment as possible, because I know people are just fed up with this shit. And number two, create an environment where people could get together and basically be free individuals. And that's what we did. And we came back here yesterday and hung out for a little bit afterwards. And then some people continued their journey forward and kind of on their own little adventure. And most people are on their way back home. So I want to, that's just a recap. And I just want to get into the Trump thing a little bit, which I think, everybody was, kind of shocked by in some ways, but really it's 2020. And is it really that shocking? I mean, let's be real about this, right? Let's be real. So essentially, what we're looking at is there are a couple things going on. Number one, there's a mythical element to what Trump is going through or experiencing. So some of the numbers that we talked about at the event were, number one, that he tested positive 33 days before the election. 33 days that's an interesting number, right? And then the day that he tested positive was on 10/2, which is Project 201 backwards. Is that a tell, right? So now he goes supposedly again into Walter Reed. I don't believe he was in Walter Reed, because we actually were looking at a video, that video where he was addressing the public. Maybe I can actually find that thing. I'm going to show you something here. Let me see if I can find it online, because it's really worth looking at here. Hold on one second. And I'm going to show you something that will be quite interesting if you can wrap your head around it for a second. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. Let me see if we can find this. Okay, so this thing is about 4 minutes and 17 seconds long. Now, I'm going to show you something here.
Some breaking news right now. President Donald Trump posting a video on Twitter with a message to his followers.
Give me 1 second. Let me get rid of the talking head. And I hopefully it's the entire thing. Okay, so I want to show you something here, which is worth noting. Okay, so I'm going to put the cursor on a particular point in the screen. Okay, and what I want you to do is now I will not be moving the cursor at all. Keep your eye on the cursor. This is really pretty fascinating. So let's get this going. And I'm going to show this to you guys. And, you know, we can listen to the president. There's not going to be any copyright strikes. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make the screen larger. We're going to go full screen so you can see the full screen effect. Okay, now I'm going to put the cursor right here on this knob, all right? Right here on this knob. And I want you to, now I'm not going to move anything. Keep your eye on the cursor, okay? All right, let's go. Watch this.
Incredible medical professionals, the doctors, the nurses, everybody at Walter Reed Medical Center. I think it's the finest in the world for the incredible job they've been doing. I came here, wasn't feeling so well. I feel much better now. We're working hard to get me all the way back. I have to be back because we still have to make America great again. We've done an awfully good job of that, but we still have steps to go, and we have to finish that job. And I'll be back. I think I'll be back soon. And
so, damn it, it just will not hold the fucking
finishing
cursor.
Up the campaign the way it was started and the way we've been doing, the kind of numbers that we've been doing. We've been so proud of it. But this was something that happened, and it's happened to millions of people all over the world.
Watching.
And I'm fighting for them, not just in the U.S. I'm fighting for them all over the world. We're going to beat this coronavirus, or whatever you want to call it, and we're going to beat it soundly. So many things have happened.
Okay, look, right here, okay? You have to, I urge you to watch this video, because when you put the cursor here, and I didn't touch anything, it eventually winds up down here. And it's like, well, what does that mean? It means he's not at Walter Reed Hospital. He did not do this video from Walter Reed Hospital. And I wish I could, you know, maybe I'll try it again tomorrow, but you could do it yourself. And what I urge you to do is actually download the video and just put your cursor right there. And then watch what happens. It eventually, and I'll just do it again. I'll come right here. I'll hit this. Let's go to the beginning. I promise I won't move it, okay? I will not move it at all. It'll be there when I click back on.
Medical professionals, the doctors, the nurses, everybody
okay.
At Walter Reed Medical Center. I think it's the finest in the world for the incredible job they've been doing. I came here, wasn't feeling so well. I feel much better now. We're working hard to get me all the way back. I have to be back because we still have to make America great again. We've done an awfully good job of that, but we still have steps to go, and we have to finish that job. And I'll be back. I think I'll be back soon. And I look forward to finishing up the campaign the way it was started and the way we've been doing, the kind of numbers that we've been doing. We've been so proud of it. But this was something that happened, and it's happened to millions of people all over the world, and I'm fighting for them, not just in the U.S. I'm fighting for them all over the world. We're going to beat this coronavirus, or whatever you want to call it, and we're going to beat it soundly. So many things have happened. If you look at the therapeutics, which I'm taking right now, some of them, and others are coming out soon that are looking like, frankly, they're miracles. If you want to know the truth, they're miracles. People criticize me when I say that, but we have things happening that look like they're miracles coming down from God. So I just wanted
Look where that cursor is. I didn't move it. I just clicked on the screen. Now remember, it started here and it's down here. You're asking yourself, well, what the hell is the significance of that? He's not in Walter Reed Hospital. I believe he's on a ship. And somebody mentioned that these are actually marine cabinets. Like these are the kinds of cabinets that you would find on a ship. So he's not even at Walter Reed. And that's the biggest thing. So again, if you think I'm, fucking around, I'm not. Just get this video, download it, put your cursor there, and watch it drop. Watch it drop. Now, some people think he's an Air Force One. I don't think so. I don't think he's an Air Force One. And again, it's the style of the cabinetry. It is marine cabinetry. Now, there's a couple of other things that are interesting here. He keeps talking about this like miracles from God. Okay, miracles from God. That's important because he's tapping into his evangelical base. And how long did it take Trump to supposedly emerge from Walter Reed Hospital? 3.5 days. So that's a resurrection, right? So we're looking at a symbolic and mythical resurrection of Donald Trump, right? President Trump. Now, if you don't think that the evangelicals and the Christian community are keeping their eye on that, well, you are sadly mistaken, right? So again, we don't know if the guy that we saw that came out of the limo went up to the White House, started waving. We don't know if that's him or not, because every single president has had multiple doubles, and that's outside of the Camp David cloning center, right? So we're where we are now is we have just really gone off the map. We've really gone off the map, and we're in this kind of Judeo-Christo kind of archetypal, mythological sort of resurrection of the president after he, was gone for 3.5 days. And he was not at Walter Reed Hospital. I can tell you that right now. The other thing that is, I don't know, really what to make of this is that he's been taking remdesivir, which is a drug that is touted by Anthony Fauci. Now, is he really taking remdesivir? I don't know. And the people that claim to know that he's taking remdesivir, do they really know? Like, I just sat there and watched Alex Jones go off on remdesivir. He doesn't fucking know. And then he's got this other like antiviral cocktail, which is called Regeneron, which he's been taking. Now, he's taking multiple doses of this stuff. Now, why isn't he doing hydroxychloroquine, which is what he said was the thing that was going to keep him from, being able to get the virus? Well, let me just play. I'm going to play one more thing. I'm going to play it. I'm going to show it to you. And this has to do with perhaps, one of the potential reasons that he's going down this path. And I'm going to show you. Now, is this 5D chess? Well, we're going to find out here fairly quickly, right? Because we are coming up against the event horizon. We are totally coming up against the event horizon. So here we go. This is the White House blocks new coronavirus vaccine guidelines. So what is this about? This is interesting on some level. Top White House officials are blocking strict new federal guidelines for the emergency release of a coronavirus vaccine, objecting to a provision that would almost certainly guarantee that no vaccine could be authorized before the election on November 3rd, according to people familiar with the approval process. So Trump is essentially hijacking the vaccination approval process. It is not going to happen before the November 3rd. Now, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Did Trump want to get everybody vaccinated so they could vote? So what is going on here? There's a lot of there is some chess playing going on now. Facing a White House blockade, the FDA is seeking other avenues to ensure that vaccines meet the guidelines. That includes sharing the standards with an outside advisory committee of experts. So they want to go around the Trump administration. Okay, that's kind of interesting, I think, right? The hope is the committee will enforce the guidelines regardless of the White House's reaction. So now we're seeing again bifurcation. We're seeing this even the balkanization inside of the White House itself or the government itself. The struggle over the guidelines is part of a months-long tug of war between the White House and federal agencies on the front lines of the pandemic response. The White House officials repeatedly intervened to shape decisions and public announcement in ways that paint the administration's response to the pandemic in a positive light. So I am now convinced that Trump is not on the vaccine train. Okay, I'm convinced of that now. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. This is what I needed to see. They've basically gone in and cock blocked the FDA. Now he's taken himself out of circulation. And look, I'm not going to sit here and talk about the wonders of remdesivir and Regeneron. Okay, I'm just not. Now, apparently, he's also taking Pepsid, go figure, zinc, and I think vitamin D. So that's another part of his protocol. And I can't believe Alex Jones was watching Alex Jones this morning, and Alex Jones is like pissed off that Trump's physician is an osteopath. Like, Alex Jones, the anti-expert expert, is bitching that Trump does not have a board certified MD as his medical expert. And it's like fuck, man, let him have an osteopath. Let him do it. So he thinks that Trump is being handled and that what Trump is doing is actually going to kill him. That's what he's talking about. And he brings on Francis Boyle and he says, Francis Boyle confirms what Alex Jones is saying and thinking. I'm going to go in another direction. And I'm going to go in a direction that ultimately this is Trump, trying to outfox these people that want to run the vaccine program. So I have now been convinced that Trump is vehemently anti-vaccination. Now, whether or not he makes it to the election, that's a whole other thing, right? We have a lot of ground to cover in a very short amount of time. Very short amount of time. And, Mike Pence is convinced that God has spoken to him and that it is his divine birthright to become president of the United States. So you got to figure Mike Pence, you got to put Mike Pence into the equation around all this because he is a bit of a wild card in some ways. So we are in it now. We are really in it now. If you want grand cosmic theater, it's not going to get any better than the next 30 days. Like if you are on life support in your life, in some ways, whatever that means, unplug yourself from the machine and get present because you're going to see stuff that is going to be mind-blowing over the next few weeks. And it's going to, I believe, really push your perception of reality. And you're thinking, oh, how much more can we handle? How much more can we handle? How much more can we handle? Well, you'll be surprised how much you can handle. And as long as you have a balanced response to what's going on in your environment, believe it or not, you can handle a lot. You can handle a lot more than you think you can. Not only can you handle it, but you can handle it in a way where it is not going to be traumatizing you. This is all energy. It's all energy. Even if the energy is chaotic and it's confusing, it's still energy. So instead of being held hostage by the conflicting energy, use that energy, right? These are Uranian times. Uranus is in Taurus. Taurus represents the earth. I've always believed that the ruling planet of Taurus should be the earth and not Venus. So if that's true, then we are going through a Uranian revolution when it comes to the material plane. So everything that we use with our so-called, five senses in order to navigate the material plane, those are being rewired and reconfigured. So you cannot what's the word I'm looking for? You cannot migrate through the material plane in the same way that you used to. You just can't. It's okay though. Jack into this other current and you'll be fine. You have to develop a perception of humor, of the suspension of belief, right? Suspension of belief, and a willingness to be improvisational and creative. And that was one of the hallmarks of our time when we got together here. Let me show you one more thing, and then I'm gonna send out an email to Steve Mercer and bring him on and let him chime in here. So now, again, I want to show you kind of what we're up against, and it is really kind of a big deal. But it's a big deal in a way that is, I think, a powerful development, because now we know who the enemy is. Now we know who the power behind the so-called power is. So in Michigan, there was a major ruling in Michigan, and it has to do with the fact that, number one, that the state government of Michigan, which would be the representatives of Michigan, overturned Christy Whittler's guidelines. They overturned them. And then the Attorney General of the state of Michigan basically sided with them and said, you can't do this. You cannot enforce this. So Whittler has said, well, we're going to do this by whatever means necessary. So now she is going to the authority and actions under the Public Health Code to prevent and control the spread of disease. So this is presented by Denise Chrysler. Okay, it's Michigan. You know where this bread is buttered. Office of Legal Affairs, Michigan Department of Community Health. The public health and the general welfare of the people of the state are hereby deemed to be matters of primary public concern. The legislature shall pass suitable laws for protection and promotion of the public health. So this goes all the way through these Michigan health codes. Look at that. Michigan Health Code 333.111. Holy shit. And shall be liberally construed for the protection of the health and safety of the people of the state. The powers of Director of Michigan Department of Community of Health. So this director, and this is what's going to happen, is that Christy Whittler is going to lean on the Director of the Michigan Department of Public Health. So this is the imminent danger order, powers of local health officer, right? So now, basically, and this is what's happened here, and this is what's happened all over the place. It's happened here in Texas, and it's happened in almost any other state and or city where we're seeing now the real power behind the power. It is these directors of public health. And each state supposedly has an emergency mandate wired into their state code of legislature. And that's what happened here in Texas. That Greg Abbott, who's the governor, decided that he was going to enact an emergency order. Now, this emergency order was really created for things like hurricanes, tornadoes, floods. And these are the three things that really happened here in Texas, and then the occasional fire, right? That's what it was there for. But Greg Abbott liberally activated and used that act to enforce these COVID restrictions. Now, this is what Christy Whittler is going to do. Christy Whittler is going to go back to this code, and basically the code says you don't have any rights, and that if the director of public health of the state of Michigan believes there is a crisis, they can liberally apply those rules. And I guarantee you There is a fail-safe code in almost every state that has this kind of provision. So one of the things that you want to do as a quote unquote sovereign and not a citizen is to look at what the public health safety codes, bylaws, and emergency acts are for your particular state. Okay. Secondarily, you want to be able to do the same thing for your county or your city. Now, your county or your city may have a different provision. And if there is a different provision, now there can be conflict between these different bodies. And there are people who have been involved in suing these bodies. Now, here's the third piece, and this is what most people fail to understand, is that number one, there are no peer-reviewed studies. None. None. And if you ask the director of public health and safety in the state of Michigan to provide those statistics and to provide those studies, they will not be able to do that. They would not be able to provide because they don't have it. They don't have it. They've just moved into this state of emergency. That's it. And because it's a state of emergency, they can liberally apply any kind of standard for the health of the public and the safety of the public. Like I said, that's what they did here in Texas. And Greg Abbott did a big power grab. Now, what's interesting is that our Attorney General, Ken Paxton, whom I've never liked, is really under fire. He's really under fire. And he's been under fire for a while. He's been dealing with corruption charges for a long time. And it's interesting that he's getting the heat right before the election. Now, that's twofold because we've got some very hot and contested elections here, at least two, and maybe more in the state of Texas. Number one, we have this gal named M.G. Heger, and I think she's going up against John Cornyn, who is actually not a bad guy as far as a politician goes. Like, you know, politicians to me, they're politicians. Every now and then you'll run across somebody who is less dirty and more earnest on some level, like the guy that is here and represents the Hill Country, Chip Roy. I've met, I've heard him speak on a number of occasions. For all intents and purposes, he seems like a decent guy. Okay, he seems like a decent guy. I actually like him. And he's anti-vax. That's what he said. He said people should have the choice. And he's running up against Wendy Davis, who is just nothing but a career politician. And she said that that Chip Roy is being run by the drug companies. That's not true. Things are getting intense out there. It's my neighbor. I guess he does his yard work. What the fuck is that? Then we got the garbage trucks over here. I'm gonna try to wait. Okay, the garbage truck is gone. I gotta go see what this is. All right. It's all good now. That was a little intense. Anyway, this M.G. Heger is running against John Cornyn. Anyway, Chip Roy, the Chip Roy thing is that when he was talking to us, he had a disclosure. He publicly disclosed that he had investments in a couple of companies that had to do, that was part of his portfolio that I think were, I don't know, they may have been drug companies, but he said, I'm full disclosure, you know, they're part of my portfolio and I vested in them. Now, Wendy Davis has taken that to be that, oh, well, he, you know, drug companies are running him. I don't believe that to be true. I believe that it's part of it. And look, and I wouldn't invest in a drug company. That's just me. But that's where the money is, right? And then maybe at some point, Chip Roy will, have to like kind of have come to Jesus with that moment. But other than that, he's been, I think, pretty solid and has been, kind of representing us to the best of his ability. Anyway, that aside, so there's John Cornyn, who again I think is probably okay. I've read some stuff and he's done some okay things. The person he's running against is this MG Heger, and this is a new model now. This is the Tulsi Gabbard, Tammy Duckworth model. So what they've done is that they get these women who have had military service. So now they're patriotic, they've served the country, and they're warriors, right? And now they've moved them into the political sphere, but rarely do they ever get moved into the Republican side. Like you don't see the female warriors moved into the Republican side. Tulsi Gabbard, who's a Democrat, Tammy Duckworth, Democrat, MG Heger, Democrat, and then this gal, I think her name is Gina Rodriguez, I think that's her name, in San Antonio, another Democrat, another, kind of war hero, right? So they're using this idea of the female war hero, somebody who's risked, life and limb and has medals and all these things that are representative of being a really good, solid American, and that they're going to go in there and fight for you. But they're moving them into the Democratic Party. It's an ingenious strategy, totally ingenious strategy. And sometimes I have to wonder: is number one, was that the plan all along, right? Were these people eventually going to move into public office, and part of their initiation, and part of their indoctrination, and part of their accreditation would be that they would be soldiers, right? Or did they go through that path and then somebody just tapped them on the shoulder? You know what? You'd be really good. And MG Hager's always showing off her fucking tattoo. She's got a tattoo. It's like, oh, here we go. It's a virtue signal, right? It's a total virtue signal. All right, let me check some comments here, and then I'm gonna send a email out to Steve to join us for a moment. Let's see. Glad you got some. Yes. Let's see. I'm planning for next year. Good, Anka. Robert's point about the resurrection after 3 days, if not significant in all this. Let's see what else we have. If not Jesus, Lazarus, Jesus, there's a whole slew of characters that get resurrected. Doesn't Osiris get resurrected? Let's see. They can't even prove coronavirus is real. I know. Isn't that right? Is that the window of lawlessness and chaos? We have to resume our sovereignty over corrupt overlords. It's our great opportunity. Let me throw that up there, Christine. This is a great comment. In that window of lawlessness and chaos, we have to resume our sovereignty over the corrupt overlords. It's our great opportunity to rid ourselves of the parasitic class. That is really what's going on here. That's what's going. We're watching this, this battle and this struggle take place. This is what's going on. This is totally what's going on, and we're sitting here on the sidelines. Well, again, I think Christine's point is well taken. Look at that. I just went full screen on that. Wow. That's pretty cool. Christine's point is well taken, and that we need to be able to find ways in which we can unhook ourselves. And there's a lot of ways that you can do that. And one of the things that I've been, getting into more is the idea of these ideas, the connection between charters and trusts and agreements. And we talked a little bit about that last week, and why these perps never, ever, ever do any time. And the reason they don't do any time is because they have figured this out. They've figured out the code, right? They have figured out the code. And the code, there we go. And the code is that the courts work for them, right? And we work for the courts. So this is where I think we need to invest our energy to understand that from a legal perspective, but it's also internal. And the more that you can do it internally, the more that we can begin to disassemble from these structures that really just want to continue to indulge in more, how shall I say this, hierarchical command control and dispensation over our lives, right? Christine brings up a great point. All right, so let's get Steve here on the let's bring him in here for a minute. All right. Let's see. All right. What do we got here? Da 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 da. All right. Come on now. All right. Should have a little send me button there. Hold on. Let's see what we got. Da 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 da. Ooh. Da 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 da. Okay. Now, why in tarnations don't I have my little send button here? Oh, here we go. All right. All right. So we'll bring Thor in here in a minute. Thor by the door. He'll come and join us, and we'll get his perspective on a few things. Trump is appointing Tom Fitton Judicial Watch. I think Tom Fitton is good, but Tom Fitton, you have to understand where Tom Fitton gets funded by. And Tom Fitton gets funded by our friends in the Fertile Crescent. Okay. So I like Tom Fitton. He's great at the FOIA stuff. And I was talking with Steve Crimmy, and he got a lot of, documents that had to do with the Pentagon and 9/11 and a plane. And he got all these documents, but then he said, well, yeah, it was a plane that really crashed there. So Tom Fitton is he's an interesting character. Don't get me wrong. I'd rather have Tom Fitton on my side than, I don't know, Chuck Schumer. But again, there's nobody here that is completely clean. Let's put it that way. I guess there's some who are cleaner than others. So I just want to make sure. Here he is. Let's bring him in here. We got him. Let's see. We got. Looks like Steve's got to get his camera on. Once he gets his camera on, we should be okay. Add to stream. Here we go. Let's see. Well, we're not getting. Your guest will need to turn his camera on. All right. So, Steve, if you're listening, you should turn your camera on. That would be a good thing to do. I like to follow the Healthy American, Peggy. All right. Let's see. Great seeing you, Jacqueline. Looks like you made it back okay, which is good. Good to see that. A rebalancing on every level. Yes. Let me invite him one more time. Let's see if we can get him in. And let's go. Let's try this. Uno mas. There we go. Hit the resend. Okay, so we'll see if Steve can join us here in a few moments. What else do we have? It's all a game. Of course, it's all a game. Of course, it's all a game. If you learn the rules of the game, You can break the rules of the game. Tom Fitton is sharp. He is sharp. He is sharp. You gotta know where Tom Fitton's bread is buttered, though. That's the important piece here. I'd rather have Tom Fitton on my team than, like I said, Chuck Schumer. Just keep that in mind. All right. In fact, let's see. Let's see if we got Steve coming on. Ah, there he is.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I had to change cameras.
It's okay, man. So you're there. How's it going?
Good. Hold on, let me turn this off. Good morning. Oh, what a weekend. Well,
Yeah, man. So give us some of your thoughts on what we did.
Well, it was great to see everybody that was there last year and make new friends, and to be able to just share stories and talk and all the presenters. Masaki was great. You did a fantastic. You just knocked it out of the park with your presentation. Hope Easton, she's fantastic. It was nice to see her from LA. Of course, I said Masaki and Emily and Laura, and Lee Guest. That was quite fantastic. She's already a star, but she's a rising star, and a lot of good things for her. So, and it was, it was great to be able to, in a time of tyranny, to get together and actually do, have some meaningful transformations. I know that it was very meant a lot to me, and I've grown a lot from it. So, and my analogy is always that we're spiritual butterflies, and what I realized is that and many people have heard this, that the butterfly needs to struggle out of the chrysalis to be able to fill its wings, and I know that that's where I am. We each have our contribution to, or our role to contribute to this cause, and I see that we as a group, I think, are going through the same thing, trying to navigate this time that we're in. So and to be there, for a whole weekend, I didn't think about a mask. I wasn't even we weren't even on the same planet. So, going to see what's going on and how quickly it's changed. And you do a great job presenting and summing up everything. I don't know. We'll see. But like Christine said, this is, and many times, we talked about how, our group are the ones, metaphorically building the ark for everyone else. And, I had a thought that if more people in the world were like, your Chatlandia group, we wouldn't need so many wrenches. But it's great.
It's a great point.
Yeah, it's great to be. Well, go ahead.
No, it's a great point. You're on a roll there. Keep going.
Yeah, I was saying, it's great to be back home in Orlando, but I already miss. I'm looking forward to next year. I already miss Texas, and you see the tree behind you. Like you said, we a lot of us came to your house and got to hang out, and I must say, I met you for the first time last year, but this year I could really feel your radiance. You are all in, and you're bringing your best, and you're our axis mundi, I guess. You brought it all together, and we all love you, and Ryan, introspective woodworker, and Christine, his wife. We have to thank them. See, that's the butterfly effect. If he hadn't suggested it, all of this might not have happened.
That's right.
So you never underestimate how, just even just saying something to somebody, any little thing, you don't know where it's going to go. And we have to follow our intuition and our guidance and be proactive in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying, it's nice to be in Orlando back home. It's always good to come home, but I'm really looking forward to being back in Texas with you. And in fact, now I've got my my hammer, so why not use it? It might take me maybe a minute because I don't really like flying over water because I don't like sharks sometimes. Doesn't always work right.
You gotta watch out for land sharks too. Yeah.
The land sharks, yeah. So let's see. See, stall. Here we go. Ready?
The hell's going on with Steve? Where'd he go? Oh, he's fucking around me or something. Anyway, he's totally right. Now, the interesting thing is that when people got here, there were literally millions of little butterflies flying around, many of which wound up on other people's windshields, right? I mean, that was on our windshields. So we were literally in a storm of these butterflies. It was incredible. It was just like butterflies everywhere. And it was these stuff. Oh, look who's here. Look who just decided to pop in.
Yeah.
The power of the hammer. There he is.
Made it. I had to stop off in New Orleans and say hi to Jason Lindgren and Rose. So just had a little jambalaya. So it didn't take too long. And
Yeah, look who's here.
yeah. Let's see.
Well, here we go. There he is, right there.
Yeah.
There's the man, Steve Mercer, the power of the hammer, right here. Behind us is the Dristle tree, the tree of life. And we had a couple people climb this tree yesterday.
Yeah, Julie and Natasha.
Natasha got up in the tree, and Natasha bonded with the tree.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, Steve, man, now you're here in the hill country, and
I love it here.
it's a good vibe, right?
Great, very good vibe. Yep.
Let's see what is great theater right there. Yeah, we like messing with you a little bit. Let's see, any other thoughts? This is great seeing your faces, JMP. Let's see what else. Awesome. Let's see how great was that. Yeah, man, it's good stuff. So, by the way, I got a pretty bad back, and Steve worked on my back for about 90 minutes last night, which really just fantastic. And I know you helped a lot of other people.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
there we go.
And you helped a lot of other people while you were at the event.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody did. Everybody brings a little bit of something. And, Steve brought that right there. And, Ryan, who's a great woodworker, brought some of his stuff. I mean, it was just so cool that everybody contributed. And to me, that's really the idea of the Aquarian age.
Right.
That everybody has something to give, something to bring.
Innovation,
and none of it is inconsequential. It all matters. It all means something.
That's right.
And the universe is incredibly economical, and incredibly efficient and knowledgeable about all these things. And sometimes we just have to get out of our own way. And that's the issue with our system and our leaders and politics, is that everything's become so politicized right now, and that it doesn't allow for us to have our kind of metamorphic or chrysalis moment, which is what you're talking about.
Right.
And they do this all the time. And, we've had these epochs in history where there have been these resets. And I guarantee you that those resets were timed at the same time where we as a species are about to click into another level. And we're at that moment right now. So we all have to do our part in order to keep that dream alive, whatever that is.
Yeah, the Aquarian age, we're going global anyway, but is it going to be their way or our way?
Yeah.
And I think that, our group is leading the way, innovating. Well, each of us has, because even Kestrel has an idea of the same as mine, kind of. Well, I didn't say that right, but we each have our roles to play.
Yeah.
And like I said, just like with the struggle and the butterfly, it's coming together right now. This is the time of activation and transformation. And as we, okay, sorry. And as we've spent the last decade, if not longer, trying to wake people up and convince them of this and that. And if they're not going to, we don't need to spend another decade doing that. We need to build what we have been planning to build, whether it's the ark metaphorically, because that is what, well, I talk to a lot of people about the flywheel. If you have a giant flywheel and you're doing your work, that's pushing it in the right direction. We're all going to push it in the right direction, create the spin and momentum. And that is what when people see that, one of the reasons they don't listen is because, one, they don't have the energy to afford to hear it, but they don't see an alternative to the TV blaring in their minds all day. And so when we live the way we should, that's the answer, is for us to do what we should be doing anyway. And when they see the success of that, they're gonna jump off the ship of state and onto the ark, I guess.
Right. Well, staying here. So yeah. I love the image of the flywheel, and if we take it one step further, and incorporate the idea of the water wheel, and the water wheel is a generator of power, and it actually takes the flow of water, right, to move that wheel. And when that wheel moves, it creates a current, right? So the idea is to get in the flow, and in every little ridge or every little oar on that wheel is important. Now the wheel might function if one or two of those are chipped off, but it won't be as efficient. It won't have as much power, right? So we have to understand that even if we're just, a wedge, or we're an edge, or we're like a small oar in that wheel, our presence on that wheel is essential, because together, when we're in the flow, the wheel hums efficiently, and then we're able to move that power, and we can light a house, or a farm, or a town, or a city if there's enough of us. And our little group is just, one spoke, or, we're like one ridge on an entire wheel, right? So I think Steve's analogy is perfect and correct. I'll throw the water element in there, because it is the water that moves it. It's the power of the spirit and the emotion. And when it just keeps going, and it is free and unfettered, and it's part of our natural birthright. So, hopefully everybody will, out of this event, which has been a chrysalis just like last year, will, bring that into their lives. And Steve and I had a pretty cool experience. We went to HEB last night, and he talked to my old neighbor from across town, John.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And John had to wear a mask, and because he works there, but he was very candid, wasn't he?
Oh yeah. Oh, he's definitely on our side. And he's looking forward to the day. Well, I'm from Florida, and Publix is in Florida, and they took the arrows off the aisles a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, a week or two ago, week and a half ago. But I'll have to check, but I think Florida is having less and less.
Well, DeSantis said it's over, basically. You don't have to wear a mask.
Right.
You don't have to social distance. I mean, he basically said it's done. It's over for
Speaking
Florida.
Let me remember. As last year, there's at the end of the hills, where we stay, there was a Christian group.
Oh, this is a great story.
This is good. And so I grew up in the church. I consider myself Christian, but they were all walking around with masks. Some of them had two masks on. They have the one mask, and then
they had the shield over them too.
So after watching them, and it hurts me to see people struggling anyway, and then having the mask on too. So that last day, I was talking to Jane. Hi, Jane. And so many new friends.
Right.
It's so great. It's just and that the love is just rippling out. And I know we're changing the world. But I see an elder a couple of the church coming, and they have their mask on, sealed nice and tight. And I told her, I said, I've got to ask him. So I walked up and, respectfully kept my distance. And I said, I just introduced, and I said, in general, I understand why we wear the mask, but I'm just wondering why, you all are wearing the mask. And without even thinking, and I could tell he wasn't thinking, he said, because we're commanded. Because
Did you hear that? Because we're commanded to.
Commanded to. And I understand that, but where's it coming from? But he said, because we're commanded to. And then his wife said, love thy neighbor. So that in a nutshell tells you where they are. But like I said, I could feel that they weren't thinking, and it's just they're the sheep of that flock, and they're doing what their preacher tells them. And but it's just like the media, people parrot the media, and the church is falling in lockstep with their orders. And the Christians, having heard revelation for so long, they should be the ones that are.
They should be on the rooftops. They should be on the hills, shouting, blaring their trumpets at the world, right? Hello, hello, right? But they're not.
Unbelievable. But when I told Robert that story the first time, he said, love thy neighbor. Well, how about loving them enough to take it off?
That's right.
Yeah.
It was a whole different concept of love. I love you so much that I'm not going to wear this mask, because by wearing this mask, I am defiling the face of God. Theoretically, you could go in that direction, but I mean, this is we've entered into basically, and I have mixed feelings and opinions about actually what happened in World War II. But let's just say, for instance, these are the ovens, right? People are literally just walking right into the metaphorical oven without any coercion. Nobody's putting a gun to their head. They're just putting the mask on, and they're walking straight into their oblivion. And for whatever reason, everybody's got their level of justification. But that blew my mind.
Yeah.
When you asked that guy.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that last year when we went there, that same group was there last year.
Yeah.
So 2 years in a row now, we've got our group who are like these anarcho heathens, and then we have this church group who are there, and they look, they're all kind of like, they look churchy. Don't they look churchy?
Yeah. Like I said, I grew up in the church, and I have love for them, and they're trying to do the right thing, but they're not. It's all external, and like Freeman says, you've got to put yourself in God's hands. You have to have the experience of the synchronicities of the divine in your life for it to be real. And once you have that, knowing that you are that too, and we all are that, the analogy, the cells in the body, then there's no real death, and you don't have to depend on a worldly authority to give you the recipe for whatever you need to do. It just, and I always say we're selling for scraps from the table when we could be sitting in the king seat. Or
that's right. Yeah, that's right. We're waiting for the scraps to be collected and then set outside in a bowl while we could be having a seat at the table. And that's exactly what Steve is talking about.
So many people I've heard, and actually, Freeman and Jeff, James Perloff said this in last week's show, that the Christian community, like we said, they should be the ones shouting from the rooftops and not going along with this, rebuking. You need to, anyway. But if that group can wake up, then we have a much better chance.
I don't think there's any hope for them.
No,
I don't think there's any hope for them. And the reason why I don't think there's any hope for them is because they're on an end times trip, right?
Right.
They're on an end times trip. They don't care about this world.
That's right.
They will be singing and praising and praying and having their Hosanna moments, up until they put their heads in a guillotine or whatever their final round of extermination is, because they believe that that their place is with God in heaven, and this world means nothing, right? It means nothing that all the suffering and everything they go through is going to increase their spiritual currency for where they go in the afterlife.
Jewels in the crown. And they also, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. The government that we have was put there by God. Also, there's the turn the other cheek thing.
Right.
And it's also, this world's going to go away. And they're expecting, of course it's collapsing, right? God's going to handle it, or Jesus is going to handle it. So they're passive.
Yes, so it's passive to the point where it's genocidal.
Yeah,
it's really genocidal. And there was a video recently that had about, I think, around 500 people. They're outdoors. They didn't have masks on. They're singing and praising and everything. Oh, it's a beautiful thing, right? I mean, I'm not opposed to that. They should be able to do that. But then in the very back line, you've got cops basically pulling people away and putting them in handcuffs because of what they're doing. And not at one time did these people turn around and face the fact that their flock was being essentially put in stocks and eliminated from them. Not one time at all. And, and I know that these people are by and large pacifists, but they didn't have to converge on those cops and beat up those cops. All they needed to do was turn around and then circle those cops and keep singing. That's all they needed to do, right? And sing directly at these cops. And then the power of whatever they're dealing with could have a direct channel and focus. And who knows, what happened. But they didn't. They turned their back on their own people. And to me, this is the death knell of Christianity. And so we have all these Christians who say, well, they're out to get Christians. They're out to get Christians. Well, you know what? If you're a Christian and that they're out to get you, you better fucking do something about it, okay? Instead of just, singing and watching your people being hauled off and handcuffed. And even Rick Wiles, who does True News, who I like, right? Even Rick Wiles has these visions about being put in these little kind of plexiglass cubicles with handcuffs on, right? Like he's had this vision. It's like, Rick, blow the vision up. Do something different, okay? Because I'll tell you right now, these other groups, they're not playing that game.
Right.
They are not playing that game. Their game is domination and control of this planet. And if you think there can be a heaven on earth, well, you better damn do something about it and stand up for it. So anyway, that's my beef with Christianity. I think a lot of the things about Christianity are beautiful. How you treat people, wonderful, right? I think those things are golden. But then you hit that Marianas Trench in the belief system, which means that there's just total passivity.
A lot of people don't know this. We know that the Rockefellers flipped medicine back in the early 1900s from
homeopathy to allopathy.
Right, yep. Exactly. With the petroleum and everything. But also they funded Schofield. Right. Schofield Bible. And that's what I believe is being taught a lot in the seminaries. And, the Greek, I've heard him for years say that it's not just the Christians, most people of faith, of any faith, they don't really know what their books, what their scriptures actually say and mean. And like I said, it's the same as just watching the TV. It's not real to them. And so, let me think. Yeah, we're in this struggle, and it was great because we connect to the divine through our higher self, and you being in nature, doing your breath work, your meditation, being out in nature. They're trying to take nature away from us.
Yep.
Putting us into the cities. That whole plan, but. It's through nature that you reconnect with the divine, and so we need to. It was so great walking by. What is it? The Guadalupe River.
Yeah.
It's just so many more. This whole weekend, it went by fast, but it's just so. It's just so rich, and it's just a beautiful thing. So we need more moments like that. Now, so we're in a fight, and what I've said is, and the more we do what we need to, we're in a fight. You're going to get hit. You got to expect to get hit. We're getting slapped around right now, but I wonder if it really gets bad, how deep they are compared to how deep we are. And so
Well, we're going to find out.
yeah, and prepare for anything means different things to different people. And if you don't know history, uh, just real quick, what's her name? Ayn Rand, her intellectual heir Leonard Peikoff at 82 wrote a book called Ominous Parallels that basically, America is going down the same journey that Germany did back when it ended up in dictatorship and all this other stuff. So how the elite are there. It's the same plan because it keeps working. So, yeah, we're in the middle of it, but and I need to do this. I've been in my head. I've had ideas of what I need to do. If you know your calling, act on it. Take baby steps. So if you even just take one step in the right direction, and that extra energy, you're going to build momentum, and you just keep taking those steps, and be smart, but rebuke what's evil, and come from love, and so we can build the true community.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and if only one side wins, we all lose. Okay.
Mhm.
So
It's a great comment, by the way.
yeah.
So
Go ahead.
so
Mhm.
on I think it was Saturday, I put Steve on the spot a little bit,
Ooh.
and so so I do this every now and then, right? I lovingly put people on the spot. So he didn't know this, but I got us all together, and we did a circle, which was more like an egg. But and then I said, well, I want somebody to lead a prayer here, and we have the son of a preacher man who is this guy, and so I asked Steve to lead us in a prayer. He did not know it was coming.
I looked to see where Steve was.
So I put him on the spot a little bit, and I want you to just share people what that was like for you.
Okay, I'm gonna try to do it without breaking. It's I'm still emotional, which tears are good. Until you have that, and when you do shadow work, you need others to witness and to hold that space for each of us. And yeah, see, I mean, I could just break down right now, but let me think. It was very. It took me a while. I was so struggling. It was nice that it was a surprise that I didn't have to think about it. But when you said that, because I do have a problem praying, because growing up in the church, who am I praying to? I don't pretend,
Right.
and I take what was taught, seriously.
Right.
And so I took a step back, and I was trying to say no, but I realized that I couldn't do that, and that I shouldn't do that. And I was struggling. And at one point, I was about to go out the door, but I didn't want to let everybody down. And thank God, Laura Wilson, she was, we were all holding hands, and she kind of just squeezed my hand a little bit. She said, "You got this, you got this." And it took a little bit, but it came out. Dear Heavenly Father.
Right.
And so, and I mean, I knew what I was saying, but after looking back on it, it was a sincere prayer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But it was it's that struggle that we all need to face, and it's okay. It's okay to break down and whatever, as long as because it's cleansing. It's cleansing. You're going to come out that butterfly, and it's just it's what we all need. We need that that's what our species is doing. And what we call the evil ones, they like the indigenous, they call them your allies. They're actually allies. We need that.
That's true.
Yeah. So we have to love and thank them too, but you don't just let yourself, you have to have self-esteem and self-respect, and also for the community. And I always give the analogy of we are to God that which a cell is to the body. Cells need autonomy, healthy boundaries, but they also need communion. So in the body, you have the organs, whether it's the nations or groups, and you have the systems and everything. And so, it's each one of those working, being healthy, that goes into a viable, body or world.
Mhm.
And so it's just, this is a time of transition. It's a blessing that it seems like everything's, falling apart, which it is, but that's what happens. It's the born again experience. You leave your old self behind.
Right. Well, the irony is things are falling apart, but for 72 hours, things were really coming together. Right.
Mhm.
And that's the takeaway. And the thing that I really appreciated about you is you hung in there.
Right. Yeah,
Right. You really hung in there. And then, there was somebody next to him who squeezed his hand and in that moment said, you've got this, right? Like, you've got this. And for me, like, the fact that you did it was really important, but also to be in a group of people where the silence was very uncomfortable. Like, there was an uncomfortable silence, right? That we could feel Steve struggle with this kind of moment in time, and people wanted to fill that space. They wanted to fill it with something else to say, and it was just like, no, let's just hang out here where it's uncomfortable and just let this kind of thing happen, right?
Yeah.
And it did happen, and it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. So anyway, I want to give you a hug for that. Thank you for doing that and participating. Thanks for all your help.
For facilitating that.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
So we're gonna sign off here, and I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be flying solo unless somehow Thor's hammer comes flying back into the picture. You never know. You never know with these things.
I do have to go home to check on the cats, but I may be back.
Oh, by the way, there were a couple of people here that got to see the real Rosie, by the way.
Yeah.
The real Rosie showed up yesterday.
Rosie has thorns.
Yes, Rosie's a little edgy. Let's put it that way.
She's beautiful.
She's beautiful, but she was definitely wanting her space back. That's for sure. All right. So till tomorrow, use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. I'll be back with 15 minutes. I'm jumping back into reading mode. So everybody, you take good care and bye for now.
Keep up the good work.